Ramon in this chapter has made his intentions clear. He's not here to just beat Lolong and no, he's here to kill Lolong and There are no rules on the battlefield, is Ramon's excuse. But let's be honest, look, I'm going to gas up Ramon later on in the video because I do think he's a very dangerous guy, but let's be honest, this is the monster of Manila we talking about here. Failure is inevitable for Ramon, and anyone who thinks otherwise is not right in the head, just like Ramon. But let's get into the chapter itself because there's a lot to talk about. Starting with the title that is called Intense, which of course is properly named for this chapter because I think this is probably the most intense match because there is the threat of death over Lolong, which wasn't there for any of the other fighters. But we get a confirmation that Sakigake is of course in critical condition in Ramon's waiting room, and we get a confirmation of what I said basically last week when I released my chapter review and breakdown. The blood on Ramon's arm is not his, it's Sakigake. He's not injured, he's going into this clean. Sakigake got low diff. But you have Yamashita here, he's almost pondering what could have possibly happened between Sakigake and Ramon, and he's probably put 2 and 2 together at this point because he does kinda know about the Niwa group and the Boyo group beef. At least I'm assuming he does. In fact, there's a lot of indications in this chapter that Yamashita knows, because a member of the Niwa group does come by to greet Yamashita and Akiyama, whose name is Mr. Lee. Even though this is such an easy name to remember, I will probably forget this name at some point. After interacting with Mr. Lee for a bit, because Mr. Lee does introduce himself to Yamashita and Akiyama, Akiyama then realizes that Yamashita doesn't want her to actually say anything or imply any possibilities between what could have happened between Ramon and Sakigake, even though, of course, due to the beef, it's more than likely that Sakigake was there to basically beat up Ramon on behalf of the Boyo group, which of course we know is actually the case. What's important, however, is that Mr. Lee, he seems like he's of course a gang member, but he seems more like an assassin maybe, and he says he's here on other business, so this isn't really about the beef for him. And I think I have a good idea on why he's here. I think he's here for Ramon specifically because he has a quote that he has over his hands that he's holding, and this is very important because in the flashback that we'll go into shortly, he doesn't carry this coat with him everywhere. I think he has a tranquilizer for the man Ramon, and I think this will be very important for later on in the fight. Yamashita then asks Mr. Lee what kind of person Ramon actually is. Is he barbaric? Because he is a little bit worried about Ramon here, but it's a little bit complicated, at least to describe what's wrong with Ramon. But honestly, I think it's pretty easy. The man is basically insane. He has been to a lot of wars, and that has probably had a very bad impact on his mental state. That's really as far as I'm willing to go with Ramon. But we do get a strong characterization of Ramon in this flashback where he seems to be having a smoke. And at this time, he is the champion of Slaughter Coliseum, and they're kind of congratulating him for defending his title. So this is right after a fight, and he is smoking. And they ask him, of course, oh, he's a smoker. But Ramon has a reason for smoking because he actually isn't doing it because he likes smoking. He's doing it because it stops the bleeding, basically, that he has from his injuries. Apparently this is something that can happen, and Ramon knows this because medics on the battlefield carry cigarettes. Now that moment right there, I think that's very important because this pushes the idea that Ramon, even though he isn't a mentally stable individual, he is very calculated when it comes to combat. This isn't someone who does things for the heck of it. His military experience and of course his cunning plays a part in it. And so I think this moment proves just why Ramon is going to be a dangerous fighter for Lolong, because he's probably going to be willing to do things that no other fighter in this tournament is willing to do. But in this flashback, Yamashita comes to the conclusion, because of course, the battlefield information that Ramon provided, that Ramon is ex-military, which actually plays into what his martial arts will be. But we then get some dialogue from Ramon here, where he's basically saying he's trembling with joy, he's fighting Lolong Donaire. Of course, Lolong is pretty famous, it seems, but he also says that he can't wait to fight him to the death, or the privilege to fight him to the death. And Ramon is like, wait a minute. There is a no killing rule in this tournament. What are you talking about, Ramon? And of course we get the line that in the battlefield there are no rules, and Lolong quite easily comes to the conclusion that I came to. Yeah, this guy is crazy. However, it is at this point that the fight actually starts, and both of them approach each other quite slowly. We don't have like a bombastic start, but once they get into close quarters combat, which is very important, they then start to throw down. And it seems as though Ramon tries to throw a palm strike, or what looks like a palm strike, at Lolong's face, but Lolong dodges it and is actually able to punch Ramon in the face, basically drawing first blood in this match. But Ramon tries to do a follow through with his strike from the side of Lolong, the left side specifically, I think it's on his left side, and Lolong ducks down to try to hit him with his elbow coming up at him, but Ramon manages to block that attack, holding his elbow or the upper part of his arm successfully. But Lolong manages to slip out of that situation with Ramon starting to attack. He's kind of rushing at him more and more, and it seems like Lolong is on the defense here, and Ramon eventually throws a kick, it seems, but Lolong, he's one step ahead and he throws a kick, but Ramon is also thinking ahead and blocks the attack. It is intense. You can tell how difficult that was for me to describe what happened, but the most important thing about that exchange is that both of them seem to specialize in close quarters combat. And Yamashita, he's like, yeah, this is way too intense, with some commentary that I think is from Jerry. I'm gonna assume every commentary is from Jerry at this point. And they're sort of giving Ramon his props here that he's holding out against Lolong Donaire, because I think within the eyes of the audience, especially since we're the ones reading the manga, but also in verse as well, Lolong is kind of the big dog here. So the fact that Ramon is able to hang with Lolong in any capacity is impressive. I'll remind everyone, Lolong Donaire one-shot Toa in a flashback. This is the monster of Manila we talking about here. Ramon should get a medal for how he is performing right now. And Ramon is going to, of course, comment on Lolong's Salat here, saying, of course, his martial arts style, or his style of Salat, is pretty good. And Lolong also has a number on the type of martial arts Ramon is using, and it's Krav Manga. I said manga like I'm talking about the medium of like the Japanese comic book, but I think it's Maga, something like that. And Krav, which is what I'm going to be calling it from now on, is a type of martial arts that is used by basically Israel military, but it is practiced in other places all over the world without the lethal elements that actually come with Krav, because again, it is a military type of martial arts. It's meant to kill your opponent, which coincidentally is what Ramon is using right now. So there is a few questions for who Ramon truly is and whether or not he is from Israel. Honestly, I'll just leave that for flashbacks. The only thing I'll talk about is that it seems like I guessed twice what Ramon's martial arts was gonna be, and I fumbled both of them. Although I do like the possibility, or not the possibility, that's the wrong way to put it, I do like the idea that both Ramon and Lolong are close combat practitioners, cause now we get to see them be up close and personal, and things are gonna get really intense between these fighters very quickly. But what's also important, and I also think this is impressive as well, that in that short exchange, Lolong was able to tell what type of martial arts Ramon was using. I think that's pretty impressive. It just goes to show that Lolong's knowledge is actually pretty deep, and that is actually the last part of this chapter. So yeah, I sort of liked it. Of course, I mean, we still have a lot more of this fight left, I think. Especially since this fight wasn't really dedicated to the fight completely. I think the next chapter will get a fully dedicated chapter to the fight. And yeah, that's really about it. Those are my thoughts. I liked the chapter a lot. I thought it was pretty good. But yeah, that's the video. Don't forget to like and sub. And until next time, take it easy.